Episode 9, Fed versus Trump. Who decides your paycheck? The Fed versus Trump. Who really controls your money? Why the Fed decides your paycheck, not politicians, interest rates, politics, an amp, your wallet, explains the hidden fight over your paycheck's value.
Golden words on a silver tongue, but the weight of lies can't be undone.
You don't vote for the Fed. You didn't elect Jerome Powell. Yet every decision the Federal Reserve makes decides if you can afford a house, a car, even your job. And while politicians scream about taxes and spending, the Fed quietly controls the value of your paycheck.
You play the part, but we see inside. No place left for you.
Problem statement. Here's the setup. The Federal Reserve sets interest rates and controls the money supply. The President and Congress set tax, trade, and spending policies. Together, they pull on different levers of the same machine, your economy. When the Fed raises rates, mortgages spike, car loans shrink, jobs slow down. When politicians slash or spend, it shifts demand, trade, and wages. But here's the trick. Their goals don't always align. That's where your paycheck gets caught in the crossfire. Deep dive the Fed's power. Raises interest rates, fights inflation, but kills borrowing. Lowers rates, boosts jobs and spending, but risks inflation. Every shift ripple, mortgages, car loans, credit cards. 2. The political promises. Presidents Trump, Biden, whoever comes next, promise growth, jobs, tax cuts. Congress battles over spending, deficits, and regulations. These moves often collide with Fed policy. 3. The collision. Politicians may push for cheap money, low rates, and more spending. The Fed may push the opposite, tight money to cool inflation. Result? Your paycheck buys less, or your job gets riskier. Example, in 2020-21, low rates plus government stimulus equal cheap borrowing, booming demand. By 2022-23, Fed hikes rates to crush inflation in mortgage and car loan crisis. By 2028, political campaigns promise growth again, but the Fed still holds the brakes.
You're losing hold of that broken crown.
Historical/comparative note. This clash isn't new. In the 1970s, presidents pushed for growth while the Fed fought inflation. The result was stagflation. In the 1980s, Paul Volcker's Fed crushed inflation with sky-high rates, but millions lost jobs. The lesson: the Fed's unelected power shapes your life more than any campaign speech.
You say you're pure, you say you're kind. Preach the truth while you're living blind.
Take away an amp. Call to action. So who decides your paycheck? The truth is, both do. Politicians can shape taxes, trade, and spending, but the Fed controls the money supply, interest rates, and ultimately whether your wages keep up or collapse. Policy fights aren't just about ideology. They're about the value of every dollar you earn. Next week, we'll look inside the political civil war, why the GOP keeps its own, and how party infighting still protects corporate America. Subscribe now and hit that like button, because the fight over your paycheck isn't between red and blue. It's between power you see and power you don't.
Passing blame, every move just a twisted game.
Description Episode 9, Fed versus Trump. Who decides your paycheck? You don't vote for the Fed, but it decides if you can afford a home, a car, even your job. This episode breaks down how the Federal Reserve's interest rate power collides with political promises, and why your paycheck is caught in the middle.
Show the face that belongs to you. You play the part, but we see
Keywords:
inside.
Federal Reserve versus Trump. Who controls your paycheck? Fed interest rates. Explain. Trump economy versus Fed politics. And your money recession. 2025 Fed policy. Secondary. Keywords: Jerome Powell explained. Fed versus politics. Why mortgages are high. Inflation versus Fed. Who controls the economy? Interest rate hikes. Explained.
Watch it die. Take off the mask, let the truth shine through.
Federal Reserve explained. Jerome Powell. Fed versus Trump. Fed versus politics. Who controls your paycheck? Interest rate hikes. Recession 2025. Fed and inflation. Trump economy. Explained. Fed versus Congress. Mortgage crisis 2025. Federal Reserve explained. Jerome Powell. Fed versus Trump. Fed versus politics. Who controls your paycheck? Interest rate hikes. Recession 2025. Fed and inflation. Trump economy. Explained. Fed versus Congress. Mortgage crisis 2025. Thank you for watching.